so I have some more examples for our day 1 of circles lesson. Our first example says, identify the center and the radius of the circle, then sketch the graph. So from here, we worked with our standard form of our circle. So I'm going to go ahead and write that down here. And I like to write it because it helps me to see what numbers are h, k, and r. So sometimes it's hard for people to see the signs because they can get a little confusing. So what I'm going to do is rewrite the equation that's given using this form. So I will write x minus h, and h has to be something that will make this a positive 4. So I know that since two negatives equal positive, h has to be, negative 4. And I have y minus k, and I have to make this expression equal negative 3. So that I can just put in a 3 for k. And then r squared will equal 1. All right, so from here I can see that h is going to be negative 4, k is positive 3, and then if I want to show some work, I can find my radius. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and write this as my center. So remember, center is h comma k, and that equals negative 4 comma 3. All right, and I got those from right there. So now to find my radius, I know that r squared is the same thing as 1. So I write r squared equals 1. Now I just have to solve this equation. So I take the square root of both sides, and I can see that r equals positive 1. And again, I just keep the positive answer because I don't need any negative radii. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and graph now. We have our center and our radius. So the center is negative 4, 3. And then I go ahead and I count over 1 unit. So it'll be 1 unit over. I go up 1, left 1, down 1. I think since this circle is so tiny, I can do my best and draw it by hand. Please excuse if it's lumpy. Oh, not too bad. And that would be my graph. So again, I have my center, my radius, and then I was able to graph it with that information. All right, we'll go ahead and look at one more of those examples of that type of problem. And again, we have to identify the center, the radius, and then sketch our graph. So here we'll go ahead and write down my standard form equals r squared, and I'll identify h and k. So we have x minus h, and since that has to equal, the expression has to equal x minus 2, I know h is 2. Go ahead and write that down, h equals 2. And then y minus k, and since this equals a positive 1, I know the only way to make this negative into a positive is to have a negative 1 for k. Square that, and then r squared is 25. So I have h, I have k, and now I can find, or I guess write, my center as an ordered pair. So hk, that will equal 2 comma negative 1. And now to find my radius, I know that r squared equals 25. R squared equals 25. And to find out what r is, I can just take the square root of both sides and get radius is 5. Now I'll go ahead and graph. When I graph, I start with the center. So I plot that point first, 2, negative 1, and then I count my radius in all directions. So I'll count over 5, count up 5, left 5, and then down 5. So my center is 2, negative 1, radius is 5, and here is the graph of my circle. We'll go ahead and go over 2 more examples of our last skill for this lesson, which is to write an equation and then graph. So we know again from our work today that our center is always HK, and then our radius is R in our standard form of our equation. So since we're given the center, we can go ahead and identify what H and K are. So H is 0, and K is -2, and R, or my radius, was already given to me. So now all I have to do to write an equation for the circle that has this as a center at the radius of 2 is plug this information into the standard form of my equation. So instead of writing H, I'll just replace H with what is equal to, so replace it with 0. And then I will replace K with -2. And R is 2. And I realized when I wrote that, I need to put in an equal sign here. All right. So now all I have to do to finish writing my equation is to simplify this expression. So here, since I have H is just 0, I know that x minus 0 is just x, so this will turn into x squared. And then for my next one, I know y minus a -2 is the same thing as y plus 2 squared, and this will equal 4. So this will be my equation of the circle with a center at 0, -2, with a radius of 2. So now we can graph it. I will graph my center first, 0, -2, count 2 over in each direction for my radius, and then I will sketch my circle. All right. Now for our last example, it says write the equation of the circle with the given center and the radius, and in this case we do not have to graph. So again, my center is H and K, radius is R. So I can identify that H is equal to 3. I'm sorry, that says -3. K equals -3, and R is 7. So again, now all that I have to do, since I have H, I have K, I have R, is to substitute everything into the standard form of my equation, and then I am done. So I know that H is -3, so x minus -3 squared plus y minus K is -3 squared equals the radius, which is 7 squared. Now all I have to do is simplify, and I'll have my equation. So minus a negative will be x plus 3 squared plus y plus 3 squared, and then 7 squared equals 49. All right, so this will be the equation of the circle with a center at -3, -3, and a radius of 7. Please feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. Otherwise, I will see you in the next video. Take care.